Let's go ahead and talk about the government's Ministry of Truth. What's up, Wolverines? Welcome back to the channel. This is John Crump News, where we discuss 2A and other news almost every day. And today we're going to be talking about other news that doesn't involve guns. We're going to be talking about the Disinformation Governance Board, which was a program set up under the Department of Homeland Security to deal with misinformation. The Disinformation Governance Board was set up under Homeland Security, like I said, but due to pressure, it was folded. The reason why there was pressure that actually caused the program to be scrapped is because it was very, very similar to the Ministry of Truth from the George Orwell novel, which was also made into a movie, 1984. No one was really sure how far the Misinformation Board got, but GOA, Gun Owners of America, decided to file a FOIA request to see, and we got the results back, which was shared with me. And let's say that they were doing some pretty sketchy stuff. The Department of Homeland Security is responsible for the protection of the homeland, the United States. But what happens when that Department of Homeland Security, and especially the board, decides that they want to take a look at another country? Around the time of the COVID pandemic, Canada had a major protest. This was the Freedom Convoy. The Freedom Convoy was a group of truckers that took their trucks to Ontario to protest against Justin Trudeau and his draconian, authoritarian laws surrounding the COVID pandemic. Basically, Canada got shut down totally. We lost a lot of rights here, but also a lot of states didn't shut down. In Canada, the whole country shut down, which led to the protest. The Canadian government responded by seizing the bank accounts of the truckers, not only the truckers, but people that donated to the truckers. They tried to cut off the livelihood for the truckers to break the protest. At the same time, the Misinformation Governance Board decided that they were interested in the Freedom Convoy as well and started tracking the Freedom Convoy, even though it was an international protest and another country, and the board is operated under Department of Homeland Security, which is responsible for the protection of the homeland, and the homeland does not include Canada. So the Disinformation Board started monitoring the protests, started tracking the truckers in Canada. Around the same time, Facebook deplatformed the truckers, and to the Disinformation Board, they thought that was a great idea. So we have an email where they are talking about sharing information with Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, and Twitter, which is now X, about the truckers and their convoy. Not only that, but they also talked about ways that they can use to censor the truckers, which is totally not the government's responsibility. They wanted to work with the social media giants to crack down on the things that the truckers shared. Basically, what they were trying to say is they wanted to help Meta, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all these other social media platforms censor the truckers. It might just be me, but I do not believe that our government and our tax dollars should be put to use to censor people that they don't agree with politically. The right of free expression and the right of freedom of speech should be protected. The First Amendment puts a limit on the federal government and also the state governments through the 14th Amendment to not restrict our rights to freedom of speech. I know that the truckers were in Canada, but I think the principles laid out in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights should be applied everywhere. And our government should not help censor other people, no matter where they are located, no matter what their stances are. Even if you disagree with me, and I strongly disagree with you, you have the right to say what you want to say. We have seen the label of misinformation being used by multiple people to discredit factual stories. In fact, the New York Post got labeled misinformation and Russian misinformation over the Hunter Biden laptop story. You have all these intelligence organizations that came out and said the Hunter laptop story was Russian disinformation. And it wasn't until after the election where Joe Biden beat Donald Trump that we found out that the Hunter Biden laptop was actually legit. Whoops. It was marked as misinformation, so it was deplatformed and down boosted, but yet it was 100% true. We also saw that with the Ashley Biden diary, where they called that disinformation until journalists started getting arrested because they had copies of the Ashley Biden diary. And the reason why that was suppressed is because there was a lot of questionable things about Ashley Biden and Joe Biden in the shower when she was a kid that didn't make the president look too good. There's also other situations where things that are really disinformation do not get the tag. And if we look at Trump, we can see the Steele dossier where it claimed that Trump did all these weird things in Russia. That was fake. That was actually paid for and supplied by the Clinton campaign. And that turned out to be completely false, even though that Hillary Clinton claimed it was true, and all the legacy media organizations claimed it was true as well. When Trump won the election, then they finally backtracked and said, you know what, we were wrong. That was actually not true. It was all made up. And the whole entire Russiagate thing, where Russia interfered with the election and was working with Donald Trump, that turned out to be false as well. Yet we still see certain Democrats push that narrative, and the legacy media for a long time pushed that narrative until they were finally forced to admit that it was untrue. So this is my big problem with misinformation governance boards and ministries of truth, is that they can be used to push a false narrative either way. They can mark things as truthful that are not truthful, or they can mark things as misinformation that are truthful. Whenever you put a person in charge of determining what is misinformation and what is factual information, you always run the risk of a political bias seeping in. It's just human nature. That's why I encourage everyone out there not to take my word for it and not to take anyone else's word for it, but do your own research. Come up with your own conclusions. Because even though I try to keep my political beliefs out of it, they seep in. And just like the other side, their political beliefs seep in as well. It is almost impossible to keep out political beliefs totally, no matter how good we try. So that is it. Just wanted to touch on the dangers of a ministry of truth and to let you guys know what is going on. I find that it was an interesting situation, and I'm going to link the article down below in the description. So with that out of the way, stay ever vigilant, stay ever free, keeping the fight. Wolverines, MFers.